This is Joy News Desk with me, Mamiesi Nyamiche Thompson. Coming up, 13.4 million Ghanaians are food insecure. That's the data from the Ghana Statistical Service. We have details as farmers up north complain of rice glut. Also coming up, doctors in Techiman worried that women with breast cancer issues report late for treatment.
The foundation saw more than 120.
For Change officially becomes a political party. We have details of these plus business updates on our desk. Don't go away. In our first story, 13.4 million Ghanaians are food insecure. That's according to data from the Ghana Statistical Service. The data also shows that Upper East and West have the highest prevalence of food insecurity in Ghana. Let me run you through the data coming up right on your screen very shortly. And this data is critical because today we are commemorating World Food Day. Now, on your screens, it says 13.4 million people in Ghana are food insecure. Also, about 43% of Ghanaians are food insecure. Now, the estimates in millions of people, we have about 31.5 million, and this is a population estimate in the year 2022. So looking at that, culminate that against the percentages we're getting, it's telling you how many people in the population are food insecure. Now, Upper East and Northeast regions recorded the highest prevalence of food insecurity in each of the 4 quarters in 2022. Now, also there in percentages, you see from your screens, Upper East, Northeast, Upper East with the highest of 73.2%, Northeast with 65.4%, Upper West with 58.75%, 53.5% in the Savannah region, and 46.17% in the Volta regions. And this is the regional data being shown to you. And also in the Ashanti region, it's 44.77%, 37.5% in the Bono East region, 35.67% in Eastern, and 30.6% in the Greater Accra regions. Now, about half of households with poor child health outcomes are food insecure. And households with underweight children have the highest prevalence of food insecurity, followed by households with stunted children, and then households with wasting children. That's quite critical. Now, 3.2 million tons of food is either lost or wasted along the supply chain in Ghana. That's so much food being thrown away or being wasted away. And this food could have got into those homes to feed these children. Now, 762.2 billion is how much the country, loses to this food waste. Now, up north, a bountiful rice harvest in the Mamprogu Meduguri district has ironically led to a crisis for local farmers who are now grappling with the surplus and struggling to find buyers. With limited market access, farmers are facing significant losses as their produce goes to waste. Martina Bugri reports.
Meduguri district in the northeast region is renowned for its rich arable soil, drawing farmers across the country who cultivate crops like rice, soya beans, and maize. However, these farmers face a significant challenge in the last 2 years. They lack market to sell their produce, rendering their hard work unprofitable. The farmers said their labor paid off as the rice, soya bean, and maize poured in, filling their barns. But as the days turn into weeks, their smiles are fading. The market remains elusive. and their produce are laying rotten in the fields. A farmer, Joshua Insia, said market, storage, and combined harvesters are their major challenge.
Our main issue have to do with our harvesting and also for buyers. Farmers has done well to mobilize some funds to do the farming. And if you look at the district, I would say Mampugu Mwanduri district is one of the areas in Ghana that produce high quality rice in terms of quantity and even quality. So currently it's time for harvesting. But the issue right now is if you look at even the whole district, no farmer has even a storage facility to even store our produce. And the critical part is we don't even have combined to also harvest our farm. But the lucky part, others has also brought in some combined that we are harvesting.
Chairman of the Farmers Association, Ismaila Ali, appealed to government to step in.
If government finds a way to get us a place for storage, it will go a long way to help us. Some of us have taken loans to buy combined harvesters and tractors and still don't know how to store or even get buyers to buy this rice. It's bad.
Shahadu Abubakar said they can farm to feed the country if government is committed in supporting them.
If government help us, we farmers from the Yaba Kobore can farm and feed the whole nation. Health Minister farms here, former MP for Tamale Central farms here, and a lot of ministers. The warehouse behind me is full and we still don't get buyers. So we are appealing to government to come to our aid.
Another farmer, Musa Abubakar, said they do not have money to pay combined harvesters.
If the combined harvesters come and you don't have money, they won't do your work for you. We are appealing to government to come to our aid so we can pay the combined harvesters and also pay back our loans.
Receiving the petition, the district agric director said he would forward their petition to the region.
Your petition has been well received. The concerns have been well noted. As I made mention earlier when I met your leaders, some of these things, steps have been underway to make sure that they mop up the rice. Your plea is that the buyers who come usually should come around. I also want to use this medium to say that those who usually come and buy, our mothers and our sisters who come to mop up the rice, should also come in. We receive the petition and forward it to the appropriate quarters, that is the regional office. After here, I'll just call my regional boss so that we'll liaise well and see, as a matter of urgency, to fast track things to make sure that
Well, let's engage some stakeholders on this interesting development. Anthony Morrison is CEO, Chamber of Agribusiness. Mensa Zakaria is Agri Director. And also Abokari is farmer. Fozia Abdul Rahman is a nutritionist. And they all join me on News Desk to discuss this interesting news from the North. We're grateful for your time, gentlemen and lady, on our show. Let me start with you, Anthony Morrison. I mean, are you aware of this development in the North? First, let's talk about the rice glut in the North. What do you make of the situation there now?
Viewers and my colleague speakers. Yes, we have been following this. Actually, this has been happening for the past 6 to 7 months. Well, it started as a result of the issues with regards to importation of the imported rice. Let me say that some of these imported rice are passing through unapproved routes into the country. They are selling cheaper than our local rice. Secondly, we are not providing the processors well enough in terms of resources and credit and finance to be able to buy this paddy rice from farmers. And we are also having challenges with regards to how we can make sure that we are actually marketing the Ghana rice in a manner that underpins its superior advantage it has as compared to the local one. Yesterday, I said clearly in one of the programs that there is a need for us as a country to be strategic in reducing the cost of rice importation, while also taking the needed steps to triple the current rice production rate per hectare. What we are doing now, we are doing about 1.9 to 3 metric tons per hectare, which is very low, it's far below the global standard. So there is a need for us to be strategic in our engagement, do more research into the kind of seeds, upgrade the quality of current fertilizers we have on the market, and also the skills and technology adaptation on the side of the farmers. This glut also occurred as a result of the vacation period at both the tertiary institutions and also the secondary schools. But I'm sure yesterday our engagement with the buffer stock company, some little funds have been made available for them to mop up. But we are asking that if the other private sector players can step in and procure some of this, because they have the capacity to try and store. And these are some of the interventions that we are currently working on at the Chamber of Agribusiness.
Well, Mr. Zakaria, what do you make? When did you realize that this rice situation was going to be a problem? If really it happens often, why haven't there been any measures put in place to resolve this issue?
Thank you very much. You know, last year, it started last year, but the price of last year was a bit better compared to what it isn't that we have not engaged those who usually come in to buy. That is not the case. We have engaged them. It's the price they want to buy as compared to what they bought last year. That is a challenge that has caused some of these things. So I want to demystify the illusion that we've not done anything about it in terms of engaging people to come and mop up the rice. Also, we realized this when a month back, we realized that we're going to have challenge because there's already a lot of rice in the system. Last year's stock are still in the warehouses. Then some people who farm them in large quantities still have them in stock. So we realized that these things were going to be a challenge moving forward. We realized it.
Right. Let me speak to you about the situation of food insecurity as well. We're just hearing from the Statistical Service that about 13.4 million Ghanaians are food insecure. This means that they don't have access to food or quality of food to consume. And it's interesting that in a country where we are, fertile, have food, access to food, it's 13.4 of our population are not having access to food. How do you juxtapose that to the waste that we often record? Especially, there's so much food up north. However, there seems to be this imbalance of people not having access to the food. What really is the problem?
I would say it's maybe we are not coordinating enough. Like Morrison was made mention earlier, we have not been intentional to enough, and this is not something that you have to blame it on. Well, the usual thing we usually do, the political thing, it's just that we have not been definite and very intentional enough. Because as I speak to you, your indicators are showing that a lot of people are not getting, they are not food secured. But as I speak to you, I even seen certain outlets that are reporting that there's no rice out there. But there's a lot of rice. Just that we have not been able to be strategic in terms of our post-harvest losses management. We have not been able to make sure that our markets are linked very well so that people are able to get access. Then also, we are not looking at the production cost. The chain of production is a challenge because if the farmer has to go through a lot of cost to produce the rice, it means that the cost effect will be passed on to the final consumer. And that in turn will make sure that those who don't really have the capital to purchase will be at a disadvantage. So that is what I feel is one of the major challenges of causing that challenge to make sure that people are not food secure.
Well, as an agri director, I'll come to you to find out, I mean, knowing what is happening and really knowing the problems, there aren't solutions that have been done to it. But let me come to Anthony Morrison. You are with the Chamber of Agribusiness. This is really in your forte, and this is happening. My question to you is the same as I put to Mensa Zakaria. How do we balance this? You have enough food, there are farmers that are producing enough, yet people have no access to food, at least 13.4 million. And we're losing over 700 billion annually on this because so much food is being wasted. Is Mr. Morrison, is he with us? Unfortunately, we've lost Mr. Morrison, but I believe Abukari Dokurugu is with us, and he's a farmer. Can you hear me, sir? Is Mr. Dokurugu on the line with us? Well, I don't have him, but let me speak to Fozia Abdul Rahman. She's a nutritionist. We're grateful, Miss Rahman. But let me ask you, there are children that are wasting. Some have stunted growth. Others too are not having the nutrition that they need. As a nutritionist, from where you sit, does this come to you all the time? What do you think is causing them not to have access to food?
Yeah, first of all, good morning to my colleagues as well as your cherished viewers and listeners. First of all, I would like us, for those of us who are not aware, that today is World Food Day, and for the theme for today's World Food Day is hand in hand for food and best future. And you know, food plays a central role in our lives. It connects us all as a form of, it's our way of life in terms of our culture. But then again, Ghana is one of the countries that is still facing the triple burden of malnutrition, in the sense that we have a lot of our people who are undernourished, and we have quite a few also who are overnourished, in the sense that they are overweight and then obese, and then we have a lot more children who suffer from micronutrient deficiencies. And to answer your question, yes, I do encounter a number of children, because women and children are the vulnerable groups when in society, and they are the ones who are also faced with these issues when it comes to malnutrition. And I would say a key role has to do with being food insecure as a country. So on one end, we grow a lot of food. However, it looks like there's no central distribution, in the sense that the food is not accessible to all. So I was listening to one of my colleagues who was talking that a lot of food is being grown in terms of up north. However, there's this issue of demand and supply. So if the demand is lesser than the supply of food, obviously it's going to affect pricing. And pricing plays a key role when it comes to being food secured. On the other hand of it, also we have issues of not being able to store our food properly. So we encounter a lot of post-harvest losses, and then most of our food goes to waste. So one thing we should also get clear is that stunting in children after the age of 2 is irreversible.
Well, let me come in here. I just want to understand. So these children that are underweight, others that are stunted, really, what is the kind of food that they eat? Or what is the nutrients they don't have access to?
Yes, so that's why I was saying that for most of these kids, it looks like the food that they eat is not well balanced or it's not nourished. That means they are lacking in certain key nutrients, especially when it comes to the micronutrients. This affects the child's performance in school because their brain is not well developed, and it goes to even affect them in their later years when they become adults. They are not more productive and all that. So we need to ensure that whatever food we are eating as parents, and the same goes to what our children also eat equally, should be balanced. They should contain all the nutrients, both the macronutrients.
Well, specifically, what nutrients do they need at that age more than what they are having access to now?
You need all the nutrients, and the nutrients are grouped into two. We have the macro and then the micro. So the macro means, as the name suggests, the body requires it in larger quantity. So you have your carbohydrates or your carbs, you have your proteins, and then the fats and oil. And then when it comes to the micronutrients, you have your vitamins and minerals. And micro because the body requires them in small amounts. However, you may not actually get them even in those small amounts that you need. That is why we encourage that we eat across the food groups. So your staples, your whole cereals, your legumes, your fruits and vegetables. Because what I've realized in my line of work and even being a Ghanaian is that for most of the time, our meals that we eat are not balanced. And we find a lot of people who barely take fruit. So they substitute their fruits with fruit drinks. And these are ultra-processed foods which are high in sugar, high in salt, and high in trans and saturated fat. So I encourage that we eat our food that we grow here. However, there's this concern or issue which comes when it comes to galamsey, or what referred to as illegal mining, because for most of these metals that are used in mining the gold and the other minerals, these heavy metals leach into the soil. And in areas where we have most of our foods that are being grown, when these heavy metals leach into the soil, obviously when the produce or the crops are being grown, they absorb these nutrients, and we find them that we end up having deposits of these heavy metals in our food. So I find it that lately a lot of my clients or patients that I do encounter do complain to me that we advocate or encourage that we eat our foods that are grown here in Ghana because they are very nutritious. However, at the back of it, we find out that because of these concerns of galamsey or the illegal mining, people are not even eating the food that we grow here, and they are resorting to taking this processed foods which are very unhealthy, and like I said earlier on, also put us at risk of chronic diseases like hypertension, like diabetes, like kidney diseases, and the rest. So I think this is something I wouldn't throw it to only government, but I believe as key stakeholders, as citizens, we also have our part to play, because we need to really create the awareness and drum it in the ears of people that we are killing ourselves because we don't have another country elsewhere when push
So
comes.
I'll come to you on whether it's time Ghana as a country, bring up a policy on food and the kind of food that we should have access to. But let me speak to Anthony Morrison. He's back on the line with me. And I was asking earlier, the country wasting over 700 billion on food because majority of the food we produce goes to waste. And then 3.4 million of the population not having access to food. How do you balance this interesting statistics? Anthony, knowing very well we're a land or a country fertile in almost everything, rich in minerals as well, and yet the people sitting in positions to streamline things don't seem to be working well. Anthony, how do you have to say to that?
Right. You are very right. And let me also, I share the similar concern with the earlier speaker on the issue of nutrition. I know that on the African Union level, where we work with the CADEP, which is a Comprehensive African Agriculture Development Program, and they do the score. Ghana doesn't do well when it comes to nutrition, and that's malnutrition and stunting and all those areas. It's one key area we need to look at. Nutrition comes in both the research, the production, and the post-harvest management issues, and also how the food is cooked. But we all need to be very clear as to what components of nutrition are required from the infancy or from the lactating mother all the way to adulthood. On the issues of post-harvest, I think it's quite clear what we must do as a country. Post-harvest or food losses does not only happen at the post-harvest level. It starts from pre-harvest, where you do production, and there are losses in the process. Even before you plant, and the management of the farm. Also, there are losses in there before you even harvest, and when you harvest, the losses that you incur in terms of the food handling, and when you are handling and moving food from one place to another as a result of food transportation or logistics, there are also losses, and these are the food waste we later see on our tables. What needs to be done is a very clear strategy as a country. Where are these losses? In which sectors? Which which regions and districts are giving us high levels of food losses? And we work towards is to address it. For instance, how do we transport our tomatoes? We incur a lot of...
You are with the Chamber of Agribusiness, are you not? So I don't know the kind of conversations you have with the Minister of Agriculture, but is it that there is nothing you can do in your own small way to push a certain agenda of people having access to the right foods and also eating well, also the farmers producing the right amount, such that nothing goes to waste?
Well, over the past 9 to 10 years, the Chamber has done several work on the nutrition sector, not only in Ghana, but working with ECOWAS, even on the ECOWAS PAPA food storage policy in addressing the issues of post-harvest and also deepening nutrition across board. At the Ministry of Food and Agriculture level, the minister have made it clear in several engagements with them as to how they are working with key institutions like the World Food Program to rehabilitate some of the warehouses to be able to address the issues of post-harvest losses. And on the nutrition level, our last engagement with REACT that works closely with those nutrition and other sensitive areas have developed several and trained several people in that area to use cereals in view to be able to reduce the issues of malnutrition, stunting, and others within some prevalent areas. It will interest you to know that one of the most endemic areas when it comes to malnutrition is Greater Accra, especially the fishing area. Okay, so malnutrition or issues with nutrition are not only limited to the rural areas. What we need to do also is to increase their education and also train a lot of people in a way, especially opinion leaders who are in those areas, to be able to design community-based nutrition programs that will be able to bring some of these people closer. I remember having to work on a program called Agriculture, Health and Nutrition. And we developed quite very simple but highly nutritious fiber products across the northern region. We also work with the World Food Program to do the nutrition retail program, where we had all these cereals coming in, being made up from fonio, cashew, maize, and rice. So a lot has been done, but I think that is the sustainability of these things. The exit strategies are not well designed. So once the funding cuts out, the project comes to a halt.
Right.
What we need to do is that as some of these projects are being designed, we look for the exit strategy in a manner that the project can continue on community level in a way that new mothers, new babies will continue to have this benefit as a result of what has been passed on to the previous.
Right. Let me come to you, Mensa Zakaria. At least you are a Agric Director up north. With these farmers producing every year and it's going, having bumper harvest and it going to waste, what is your strategy to work with these farmers such that they don't produce overly beyond the limit that the country can take, such that it will go to waste? At least we need to be able to reduce the over 700 billion wasted on food every year.
In as much as we want to do this, we want to be food secured, it doesn't really mean that you will not be able to. We have to be able to keep drumming the cause that you have to be able to farm what you can manage. A lot of people are engaged in farming that they cannot really manage, and which is a major challenge. Because at the end of the day, because there's excess land, you feel like you can do a lot of acreages, but in reality, you might not be able to manage it. And if you cannot manage it, you realize that a lot of them will go into waste. And the waste, all the numbers that you have churned out, it will reflect in those things. But also, we also have to look at how to make sure that we in the agri value chain, we're able to repackage this rice very well. So that one of the earlier submissions were that we need to be able to be intentional. Like I'm saying, get individuals within that value chain to mop up what we really have. Government alone cannot do it all. That is the reality. There are people within the value chain that almost every time come around and they buy it, and sometimes you don't even hear of these things. We need to encourage these people to come into the system and offtake some of these produce so that we don't have a lot of these things in the system. And also lastly, like I mentioned, we need to be able to add value to the sort of, if it's rice, if it's soya, whatever we are producing, we need to add value so that we're able to store them for a longer period of time so that we don't have a lot of it getting bad in the system.
I'm also interested in how this rice has become so much. Is it because of our rice imports as well? Because we import a lot of rice into this country. Is it time that we slip I beg your pardon, we cut off the number to accommodate the one we produce locally?
I think we cannot eat our cake and have it as a nation. We need to be strategic and be very intentional about making sure that we create a lot of jobs in other countries rather than our countries, because we have farmers. It's no fault of theirs that they've decided to go into this venture. We can also say entirely that we'll be able to cut off. We have not gotten to a point where we'll say we'll completely shut it down, but I think we should be intentional and deliberate about it and making sure that these imports are cut down so that the local farmer producing at the local level will also have the confidence that when he produces, it could be taken into a bigger pool. Other than that, we'll just be running in circles and we'll not be able to solve it. If we really want to solve it, we need to be direct and intentional. Policy must be made to make sure that we clamp down and cut down the size of importation of rice into this country.
Mr. Zachary, I'm grateful for your time. He's a great director, and also we had the Chamber of Agribusiness, Anthony Morrison, joining us, and nutritionist Fozia Abdul Rahman on this conversation. Grateful for your time on our desk. Now, in other stories, a free breast cancer screening in Techiman has uncovered a silent health crisis, leading to a powerful and direct plea from doctors. Quote, "Your first stop after a diagnosis must be the hospital, not the prayer camp," end quote. This comes as the Holy Family Hospital reveals a worrying 70% of patients are arriving too late for easy treatment, with new cases soaring to 54 in just the first half of this year. Anas Sabit reports.
Right here at the Techiman RC Basic School, a collaborative effort between the Holy Family Hospital and the Cancer Support Network Foundation saw more than 120 people step up for a free health checkup. A powerful show of community engagement, but the initial results are a stark warning bell. Of those screened, abnormalities were found in some 44 individuals, thus more than 1 in 3. 2 cases were serious enough to require immediate biopsies. This number underscores a critical gap between community need and routine medical care. Board Secretary of the Cancer Support Network Foundation, Gabriel Asumin, underscores the need for the public to take breast cancer screenings seriously.
Through my personal involvement with Cancer Support Network, we find that there are some women who are walking through our markets with very bad cases of breast cancer, travel to the liver, to the bones, to the back, to the brain, and that makes the treatment much more difficult. So we are hoping that through various organizations doing consistent education, we can detect breast cancer early so that we can get people the treatment they need so that they can go about their lives.
He further shared a passionate plea. If a lump is found, your next step must be a hospital, not just a prayer camp. Faith, according to him, is vital, but it must be complemented by science.
As a pastor and as a doctor, I pray for my patients. So we won't discount the importance of your faith in your healing process, but the most interesting thing that every patient, every person in Ghana will have to ask themselves is, of all the thousands of doctors that are in Ghana, when any one of them gets sick, will they go to the hospital or will they go to a prayer camp? When the pastors, myself included, get sick, do we go to the hospital or do we stay at home and pray? And if we go to the hospital when we are sick, then the church members need to pay attention.
This urgent call for medical follow-up is echoed loudly by the doctors here who are on the front lines. They see the devastating consequences of late reporting every single day. Dr. Kingsley Bosompem is a general surgeon here at the Holy Family Hospital.
Especially in the resource-limited communities, we record about 70 to 80%. In other words, 7 to about 8 out of 10 patients will come with what we call locally advanced or metastatic. Now, early breast cancer is curable. Locally advanced is quite difficult to treat, and then when it's in metastatic, it's no longer treatable. So the main challenge here is that they come in very late, 7 out of 10, which is not a very good sign.
54 new cases in just 6 months, a stark number that highlights the critical need for prevention. This is why the message from experts is so consistent and clear.
We started our clinic, breast care clinic, not too long ago, and the cases are rising. For the first half of the year, 2025, we have been able to, we've diagnosed 54 cases of breast cancer. Compared with last year, we are recording high numbers of cases. So we need to put the data together and can make it.
So the message from Techiman is one of urgency wrapped in hope. While the numbers are rising, the power to change the outcome lies in early detection. The success of this screening proves that when services are brought to the community, people will participate. Anna Sabit, Joy News, Techiman.
Well, Movement for Change officially becomes a political party today. The party has rebranded into a political party now known as United Party. The Movement for Change is led by former Minister of Trade and Industry, Alan Tremantin. And Mr. Tremantin formed the movement when he resigned from the New Patriotic Party in September 2023 to run as an independent candidate in the 2024 general election. We're still trying to establish contact to get more into this, but when we do, we'll definitely bring it to you. You're watching Joy News Desk with me, Mami Sinyamiche Thompson. We'll take a break. We'll be back with business. Welcome back to Joy News Desk, and as usual, Michelle is here, beautifully dressed with business news.
Right, of course, let's do some business news. Now, the IMF has charged Ghana to strengthen its public financial management systems to help prevent the country from going into any form of debt crisis again. George Riafe has more.
Before Ghana signed up to the IMF program, the country's debt-GDP ratio was more than 70%. The concern was that how can this come down if this program doesn't roll out some tough measures to address that.
The fiscal monitor highlights three main sort of actions to more broadly to improve efficiency. One, as I mentioned there, is strengthening institutions, strengthening the rule of law, addressing weak governance and corruption when this is the case, strengthen public financial management process. So these are very important lessons. Another one lesson which is, applies to many emerging markets is create space for additional spending. And this could be particularly relevant in countries that face this declining flows. Our countries can create spending. Typically, advanced economies have more room to reduce spending on pensions through pension reforms, while many emerging markets and low-income countries have the scope to improve and reform energy subsidy, something that actually we touched base in the last year report. And finally, improving service delivery. And digitalization is a case where it can help, and actually many countries, including in the African region, have adopted the digitalization to strengthen, for example, revenue mobilization.
Well, recent data released by the Bank of Ghana shows that we're doing around 44% in terms of Ghana's debt-GDP ratio. The concern is that how can we sustain these levels and we don't flip into that crisis when it comes to debt overruns? Well, that's the question I posed to a director at the IMF during the release of the Fiscal Monetary Report on the sidelines of the annual IMF and World Bank meetings in Washington, D.C. This is what he had to say.
With respect to Ghana, I think there are two important lessons that we learned. The first is strengthen revenue mobilization through improving tax administration to create resources for additional spending, including on priority spending, including health. And second, strengthen public financial management to avoid payment of arrears, to increase debt transparency, and to keep the fiscal house in order, as we usually say.
From the Headquarters 1 building in Washington, D.C., this is George Yaffe reporting for Joy Business.
Now, away from that, the Bank of Ghana is stepping up its monetary policy efforts to maintain inflation within single-digit levels. Now, in this latest move, the central bank has withdrawn nearly 4 billion cedis from the financial system through its open market operations bills aimed at tightening liquidity and stabilizing prices. We have more in this report.
This is one of the highest amounts that the Bank of Ghana has raised from the market in recent times, as it takes steps to ensure that the amount of money in circulation is in line or balanced with economic activities. These measures are coming at a time that government was initially struggling to raise the targeted amount through the treasury bills market. While this measure or instrument has been used by government to raise funds, it also indirectly helped in checking inflation. So, since government had been struggling, the open market operations bills had come to the rescue of the central bank in checking liquidity on the market. But some were worried about the amount being raised, especially when the inflation rate had been dropping to these record levels. At an interest of 21%, a lot more investors on the market were turning to these papers compared to the government of Ghana treasury bills. But will the Bank of Ghana be going ahead to raise these amounts? And what will be the implication to government when it comes to securing the targeted amount for its treasury bills auction? Also, could it be an indication that we are not yet out of the woods when it comes to inflation rate staying within the single digits range going forward?
And that's it for business right here. I am Michelle Lejekum. The small when you log on to myjoyonline.com. Mamiesi.
Thank you, Michelle. Now, 6 individuals, including a toddler and the mother, have sustained various degrees of injuries in a shooting incident at Obuasi, Kwamnakwa in the Ashanti region. The toddler, who was shot in the leg, remains in critical condition, while others have been treated and discharged. Authorities confirmed that some of the injured persons have been discharged from the hospital, but the toddler and his mother remain in critical condition. There's more on this report.
A joyous celebration turned tragic at Obuasi in the Ashanti region when a man identified as Kofi Cole allegedly fired gunshots in the air, leaving a baby and 5 others injured. According to eyewitnesses, the suspect, Kofi Cole, fired the gunshots in celebration of a court victory in a chieftaincy dispute. Sources close to Love News reveal that the suspect joined the victors in the dispute who went around the community with rickshaws in celebration of their victory. During the process, shots were fired into the air, leading to the injuries. Charles Abu is the assembly member for the Kwabenakwa electoral area.
Maybe a friend Kofiko and Atutu, American Nipa 6 and I come now, if we have the Indian more to much as a papa.
This is the first time I have heard about him firing shots, but he has often caused trouble in the area.
And I did 2 na Akanipa Makumako 6. The other home grand say Obata back on the bar Onyanya fe. It you know abo the name and 90 form no abo mo PhD. Now Busamia Niesu Kronium Hamono.
Charles Abu says the suspect is known for notorious acts in the area.
When the first time memehu. My first to try some there mostly taibo ni din or no basa mu say bia say ntokwane ade adesa no ba fa tuo no de when the first time me hu so watotuo say bia na man te de ani minim de.
According to the assemblyman, the toddler remains hospitalized. Law enforcement officers have also intensified patrols in the area to prevent any escalation of tension related to the chieftaincy disputes.
Time the woman say plague biba no be tim ne ukratu tim me dem imagine fisu me tan na me ti ani po tim me yes me dwan me say me say apai a moja de me say ana ya benejinu apai a moja de eba ana yu say plague na ekwo na etu ade ato boy ba ko tim na etutu no and yes near your doors ne wo.
Gun culture continues to be a challenge for security personnel, with the Ashanti region leading in recent statistics. For Joy News, Nana Boachidankoyadom. Komase.
And that's all we have for you here on Joy News Desk. I am Amesi Nyamiche Thompson. There's more news on myjoyonline.com. See you again tomorrow.